Hi, and welcome to another week from the Kingdom Games studio. I'm Chris, your humble community servant.
And I'm Bill Kirkman, designer here at Kingdom Games.
Boss extraordinaire, Dark Souls fanatic.
Yeah, very much so.
Red Fly survivor.
Red Fly, Lightbox Interactive, Portalarium. Starhawk, yeah.
Shroud of the Avatar.
Yep,
Force
Shroud of the
Unleashed Wii edition.
Yeah. Ghostbusters for the Wii.
You worked on Ghostbusters?
Yep, I worked on Ghostbusters,
version.
yeah.
Did you ever get to meet Bill Murray?
No, not in person, no.
Did you know people that got to meet Bill Murray?
I don't think anyone did. I think it was all handled by another studio, but the recording and stuff. But I know.
Depressing.
It's a huge letdown. Huge letdown.
No Bill Murray. All right. We are Kingdom Games ATX. Of course, the game is 5 Guardians of David. And this week we thought, let's have a little fun treat. There are 11 full bosses in the game, plus some mini bosses that don't even get to count as full bosses. Yeah. And you designed all of them. And implemented them too?
Pretty much all the boss encounters. Mini bosses were a little bit of a mix of other people doing.
And Goliath, I think, was before your time. But
yeah, Goliath was before my time, but I ended up coming in and finishing it, changing some things in the fight, kind of fixing it up.
Yeah, so you not only designed them, you actually programmed them in too, right?
Designed, programmed, did the AI for them, did the little events and everything, pretty much the entire encounter. Only thing I didn't do actually was end up dropping them in the levels because the other level designers ended up dropping the bosses in and setting up the tags and stuff for me. But other than that, I did all the programming.
What's a tag? You mean a script or what's a tag?
Tags are just for like spawning and stuff.
Okay.
And, identifying who a character is and.
Bad guy.
Yeah, bad guy, and where to use them in code and stuff.
So the other designers, I guess, took all the credit for all the bosses.
Yeah. So basically, I didn't do much at all.
Okay.
The other designers,
I didn't think so.
They did all of the work.
You didn't look like
they did the heavy lifting.
Yeah, I don't think so. Kingdom Game ATX on all your favorite social media sites: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Steam, of course, being my Steam forum, 5 Guardians of David, and of course, KingdomGames.com and 5guardiansofdavid.com. So, Bill. Without further ado, well, hold on. We have to ask about Dark Souls.
Oh, okay.
Because it just came out 2 days ago?
Yeah, Dark Souls 3 came out Tuesday. Monday, it kind of, actually. Came out a little bit early.
Oh.
Yeah. If you had the PC version anyway, I think the console version might have come out Tuesday at the normal release time. But Steam, you could get it early, and I'm glad I got it on Steam because then I was able to play it a little early. But it's really good. I recommend it to everyone. It's the best Souls game yet. It's the culmination of all the previous games and everything they've learned, and there's a lot of good stuff in it. And yeah.
What's your death count at?
Oh gosh, I died a lot.
Triple digits?
I wouldn't say triple digits, probably not yet, but it's pretty high. I think it keeps track too. I could probably check that. I don't know what the number is. I don't know the exact number, but there's been a good number of deaths.
So blindfold no death run is coming, or
yeah.
Okay,
I'm gonna do ultra challenge run, blindfolded,
naked,
2 instances at the same time.
Oh yeah,
playing the game at the same time to beat it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
I could get into that.
Yeah,
keep us posted on that. For this channel.
Yeah.
So let's break in the editor. If you can just click Unity there, and then you just
boom
minus this. Boom.
There
we are
go.
in Unity 5.3 point something. 5 point, I don't know.
Yeah.
We're in Unity 5.
Yeah, Unity 5. Yeah.
Playing 5. So what is this lovely little right here?
This right here, this is my test level. And it started as my loot test level because when I first started, I was kind of like trying to get loot stuff done, like how loot, drops and, entering all the info for all the loot, like enhancements. And enhancements are basically like what stats you get on your loot. Like if you get like Zeal, Vigor, Crit Chance, Min Damage, Max Damage, all that good stuff. I can just show that stuff off real quick. This is like a test treasure chest. I don't have an asset in there for it, but you can just kind of click it. Fodder doesn't really drop anything often.
Whoa!
Lieutenant's gonna drop some stuff. Captain. General.
So here are your loot tables,
these are basically
practice.
Test all my loot tables, and then over here is like enemies that you can kill to test loot from enemies, and they respawn right away. So I just killed a boss. That was a boss I just killed right there.
Impressive.
But yeah, so I kind of got like this giant field of all the different types of enemies, and all the different loot tables they can drop and everything. Boom.
The Ammonites, the Moabites, and everyone's just hanging out.
Yep. So, anyway.
I like that they just fall over.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of this. Like, so is this how you beat the game?
Yeah, this is how I beat the game. I come in here, I get fully equipped, and then go wherever I want to go.
That makes a lot of sense, because I was wondering. Like, you did seem to beat the game pretty quickly.
Bricks and pots. But yeah. So anyway, that's just my little test level, but I can also use this to show off some of the boss stuff. So for now I'm going to drop in, actually first thing I'm going to do is make myself invincible using some of our dev tools.
Ooh.
I'm going to drop in a boss. I'm going to drop in Nizaya.
I don't like Nizaya.
Yeah, he's pretty much our third boss in the game.
He's a jerk.
Actually, I'm going to drop this in the scene. By the way, this is a scene view. This is our edit view for when we edit stuff. This isn't actually runtime.
And you can see the lights, and you can see the cameras.
Yeah, you can see all the different little like game entities and other game objects and stuff. I'm gonna drop in the boss. I can just drop him right in. He's gonna activate right away and start trying to kill me. So this is one of our bosses. This is Nizaya.
Who's a jerk.
You can kind of see his like standard attack pattern is just kind of a few attacks and then follows up with a larger attack. And I'll show you his AI really quick. Over here, hidden down here.
Is this his brain?
This is his AI.
This is the brain of
This is his brain, and this is active. You can see what it's trying to do each time he tries to do something. Let me hide some stuff though, so we can actually get a better view of it, because we don't need to see all.
So
these
you
things.
could actually bug test his behavior tree just by watching where things go, and it's really cool.
So you can actually kind of see exactly what he's trying to do. So his tree is actually kind of massive. Some of the bosses are smaller. Some of the bosses have larger trees. He has a pretty large tree because he actually has 3 different states. When he's over 50% health, this is the tree he goes into. When he's at over 20% but less than 50%, he has a different tree. And then over here at the end,
that final push, that last stand.
he has that last 20%. So it's kind of like him powering up. He kind of gets different versions of the abilities he had before, which have higher damage or more range or different attacks altogether. All the bosses have a somewhat similar setup to that. Some also just switch between states as part of the fight anyway, without it being health based. But this particular guy, he's based on health for what his attacks are. So we're gonna go over here. We're gonna go over to this tree, and you can kind of just see him going through the tree, deciding what he's gonna do next. And each one of these is a different
basic attack, and he likes waiting.
Yeah, so he has a sequence. What he does is he goes down, he uses sequence 1, attack sequence 2, attack sequence 3, and then he goes to 4, and then he resets. And he'll just kind of keep doing that. That's kind of his stick. He's the third boss in the game, so he's pretty easy, pretty basic, pretty,
Nizai's not easy. Nizai's a jerk.
He's kind of hard, but
I don't like fighting Nizai.
The boss himself is fairly standard basic attack AI. But what makes him a little bit harder is all his minions and stuff that he summons in during the fight.
Yeah, he has a lot of minions.
And I'm not going to include those in this. I'm going to leave them.
Minions.
He does have a lot of minions. So, if we wanted to, oops,
you broke something.
I didn't break it. I just moved it.
You broke the TV.
I broke it. Everything's broken. Why does it keep lagging a bit? There we go. So if I wanted to select his first attack in his sequence of attacks, I can go to his ability over here, kind of click it, then go over here. And
to a new window.
Yeah.
How do you keep track of all this stuff?
So I like to keep a bunch of windows open when I have it set up, but
clearly, oh my.
Basically, over here I have a list of all the different boss abilities, like all their different attacks. For instance, right now I have Taria, Goliath, and Shobak open. And if I really wanted to, I could actually drag in any of the other boss's abilities on Nizaya and have him do those abilities if I wanted.
Does he have the same bones and everything, so he can animate it too? Or
He doesn't have the correct weapon, but the animations are still there.
Okay.
The animations are actually baked into the ability, and I can actually show some of that real quick too. Let's look at like Shobak's Flame Spout.
Oh no.
So, drag this over here. That's going to get really tiny. So, a typical ability has a bunch of data. Like, this is all the setup stuff we do for every ability in the game for what the enemies can do.
Is this all defaulted, or is this programmed in on top of Unity, or is this all the engine?
So this isn't defaulted. This is all stuff we entered ourselves and created the inspector for it, and created the... This is like a direct portal to code stuff. Like, all the variables code is going to reference and use is through this. So basically here we're like toggling and tweaking things to get the ability to do what we want it to do.
All right.
There's like a bunch of different like targeting stuff, range stuff. Down here is like what damage it does, how it does the damage, what animations to play, and what effects to play when he does the ability. So there's basically this giant package of data. That's basically what each of these things are. And I can take any one of these, like Flame Spout, go over here, select the boss again, so I can bring up the tree.
You broke it again.
Let me lock it this time. Forgot to lock it. Alright. Go back down here. Go into his attack. And I can just go ahead and click Flame Spout, drag it on over here, drop it right in, and in real time, he should be using Flame Spout.
Whoa!
Yep. So now he'll work that into the sequence of attacks. So first he's going to do second attack, third attack after that. There's a brief delay in between each attack that's been programmed in through the bundle of data and this AI tree. And then he'll do the Flame Spout right now. So as he decides to do it. There you go. So, and if we wanted to, we could drop in more attacks from other bosses.
Unity can't handle it.
Yeah, Unity's, oh wow.
Can't handle the Flame Spout.
Alright, so let's go over here. Let's do Goliath. We could let's pull in his Spear Charge. Actually, let's select the ability first. Spear Charge. Boom. And over here for his third attack. And so like this is an example of using a completely different weapon. We could drop in Taria's Rain of Arrows.
And Zaya's gonna look real goofy now.
So he's gonna do some weird stuff now. It'll still work. It'll just that was his spear charge he just did.
Goliath.
And now he's gonna do the arrow rain. Even though he doesn't have a bow, I guess he's shooting a bunch of swords at me or something.
He does have arrows. I mean, he's just very quick with his bow. He has a sword bow.
It's a really, really quick. Yeah.
It's an advanced sword bow, man.
Yeah.
It's like a level 32.
So now his new attack sequence is basically going to be the fire spout. Then he's going to do a spear charge, and now he's going to do the arrow rain. And then his fourth attack is just his attack he used to have, which is a big overhand swing with his sword.
It's kind of boring by comparison, though.
Yeah, that's true. It's kind of less exciting than shooting fire and charging at people and raining arrows on people. So that's kind of like a quick rundown of some of the things I could do with our AI tree and like swapping in abilities and changing things out.
Is that a plugin? Is that Unity? Is that a script?
So this is Behavior Designer. This is actually a third-party thing, third-party resource we're using that allows us to just kind of assemble all these trees for how we want AI to do different things.
Yeah, kind of blueprint it out.
Right.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically come up with the ability, and Behavior Designer is waiting for this script that has all the variable data, and it's just saying, okay, plug all these variables in, chug it out through these booleans, essentially.
Yep.
On, off, on, off.
It's basically a giant tree of conditions.
Yeah.
And it's kind of what most of the AI trees for most of us are. There's like condition they wait to be met. Most of the time, it's usually going to be like a range condition. Is someone in range of me? Do I have a sequence to go through? Or, is there some kind of other condition? Like maybe I have to be low enough in health, or maybe I have to have, like the Taria and Melek fight, which is later in the game, there's two bosses. And if you kill one boss, the other one powers up and goes into like this super powerful mode.
It was in a Super Saiyan mode.
Yeah, he goes Super Saiyan.
Super Saiyan.
Yeah, it's over 9,000.
Yeah.
But, and it basically, it's just a whole tree of conditions and different things that they can do at any given moment. Some bosses are more freeform. They can just randomly choose from a set of stuff.
Right.
Or there might be a sequence, kind of like this. Yeah.
How long does it take to go from pen and paper to implementation and dropping it in the scene?
From like a design doc?
Yeah, is this like months of work? Is this weeks?
Design doc, since it's mostly ideas, if you know how to create the systems, you can kind of save some time there.
Right.
Since you already know what could work or couldn't work, you can kind of plan around that. But it depends on how ambitious it is. Some bosses are much quicker than others. And Zaya was actually pretty quick to set up because his AI is fairly basic. It's really just different states and then kind of the same different sequences, but at different states of his health. The minion stuff took a little bit longer, which we didn't include in here. But in the actual boss fight, he has a bunch of minions that, as you get him lower in health, they will also trigger, and they will like run into the fight to fight you. And if you kind of get them down in health really quickly without kind of fighting the minions first, they'll all come and like swarm you.
Yeah, that's what happened to me.
So yeah, part of the trick to that boss fight is kind of, one of the things you kind of learn is that you want to deal with the minions as soon as they come out, and the fight gets a lot easier that way.
Yeah, I still think it's...
Yeah, if you try and go, just full on the boss and just try and rush him down, then you're gonna get swarmed.
I got punished.
Yep.
I got punished for...
Little bit of Dark Souls in there.
Yeah,
a little bit of Dark Souls.
A little bit.
Um,
So, what is the way that you set up the scripts, is that based off of what behavior tree is expecting, or does behavior tree just take whatever you throw it to? So ability, it's just okay, so we know this variable ability, we want to trigger that, and then that then goes back to you to do whatever with.
The AI system kind of waits and listens for this, and that stuff is standardized across all of our AI guys, including bosses. They use similar AI stuff, similar brains, which is basically, this is what's going to trigger everything, decide what they do, which includes movement, targeting. That stuff I disabled at the start, like up here, is kind of base tree stuff that all of our AI has, and part of that stuff is their targeting sequence, their state sequence, like if they get stunned or killed, if they end up dying, it'll halt everything else. Some of the stuff like supersedes other events from happening. Down here is like the actual like ability sequence and other things that they choose to use, and their movement is here too. They'll choose, based on a range I set up, how close they want to move to a target before they start trying to do things. There's also facing, that kind of stuff. The scripts I write, so I write some other scripts, and on top of all this are just to get other effects that are outside the standard code systems. So, for instance, I can't drag it in, like there's the whirlwind ability, I can't just drag into a boss. It actually has to have a script that goes with it. And the reason for that is our ability system doesn't have like a movement system to it, like a special movement system. Okay. So if I want someone to do an ability and move, I have a special script that kind of sits on top of all the other systems and says, now that I'm doing this whirlwind attack, it gets like a signal and says, okay, now I need to start moving towards the player incrementally, like over time. So it'll simulate, him doing the whirlwind, moving towards you without changing the AI systems. It kind of pauses the AI and says, okay, this takes over now. So I have some like additional scripts that kind of help do some stuff that's not standard.
Is move to player a default method call within Unity, or is Unity all C++ and C#?
Move to player is using our Apex system.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It's using so we have an AI system called Apex, which is like a grid-based system that kind of determines where AI can path, right, and like where they can walk and stuff. The bosses use that, our enemies use that. Move to target is basically just saying, filter through that stuff to figure out a valid path to move to wherever it is you want to go.
Yeah.
Move to target, for instance, doesn't necessarily have to be the player. It could be if we wanted have them move to, a box or something, or move to a pillar or a different point in the level. So.
Move to safety.
Move to safety.
Is
yeah.
That
take
default,
cover.
Is take cover a default? No. You have to program that in.
No. We don't have a take cover. You just tell them to move wherever you want.
Take cover.
Decided to take cover.
You can't. Yeah, no.
We're gonna make it a cover shooter now.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll take cover and then he'll use his arrow rain on you. He'll throw his swords at you.
Sword rain.
Sword rain. Yeah.
This is something I've always wondered. Why is like default stuff pink? Is it just like a constant reminder to fix it?
It's a reminder that it's really easy to see and it's really easy to like spot in a level. So I think most time people use that like fuchsia pink color or whatever. I don't know if it's Unity default. I don't think it's. I think it's like a magenta.
It's in Gary's mod.
Yeah.
For like default placeholder stuff. It's the checkerboard.
It's just a really good universal color because you don't see that color often in a natural setting. Like people don't often use that color, so it almost always sticks out. Interesting thing is that Behavior Designer didn't always have this pink grid background. For some reason, when we upgraded to Unity 5 and got a newer version of Behavior Designer, it decided it wanted a pink grid instead of the normal.
It's very calming.
Yeah.
I'm not criticizing. I like it. I'm not criticizing it.
Zoom in on that a bit? Or we can zoom out. Oh yeah, look at that.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So you can get quite a bit of Behavior Designer designs in here.
Yeah.
Trade to other things. So how do you test a boss? Like, how do you know that it's working?
So
functions.
This test level is actually a pretty good place usually for testing bosses. Oftentimes if a boss has some required stuff, like some bosses will require other prefabs, and prefabs are basically just our game objects.
Right.
Prefab could be anything. Prefab could be another minion. It could be a trap or like an ability that's not part of the ability system. So, for example, Ginnabath, who is I think the 5th or the 6th boss, he has some like boulder drop attacks, and those aren't through the ability system. Those are like a special custom script that I wrote. That is basically, it's like an event thing that does a trigger box on a spot. The effects for it drop down, like there's a rock that drops down, and when the rock hits, the trigger box activates, and if the player's inside of it, they take damage, and then the trigger box deactivates. So stuff like that might also need to be dropped in with a boss so they can use that stuff. And they'll have another script that sits there and says, here's where these things need to go when they need to go somewhere, or when the boss decides to use that attack.
So you bring him in, you bring his set pieces, his boulders or whatever.
Yep.
Then you bring the player in, and it says, okay, well, the boulder has to go towards the player, therefore the boulder is going away from the player. There's a problem.
I could do this real quick. I could show you Zaham, the final boss of the game. He's still in here, actually. If I re-enable him, his folder.
Just checking that eyeball.
So we're not at runtime right now. The game is stopped right now. This is like back to our edit mode. So you can kind of see if I select the folder. This is like everything Zaham uses. And Zaham basically has every boss's stuff on him. He's like a boss rush mode boss where you kind of like fight all the different bosses of the game. Yeah, sorry, spoilers.
Oh man,
spoilers.
You didn't spoil that. You spoiled that whole game.
So like you were asking, this is kind of like a huge amount of like.
This is every boss that required objects and prefabs in order to work.
Right.
Now they all are required for Zaham.
So like these giant squares are Ginnabath's landslide attack. They cover a huge square, and there's an effect that plays, and it all rains down. These boulders up here for Barackle, they kind of drop down and roll across the arena. This waypoint path is for Searath. He kind of follows the path. Unlike the other bosses, he doesn't use Apex for pathing. What he does is he kind of does this like racetrack thing where he just kind of runs around in a circle around the arena. Yeah, it is a guided circle. There's a little bit extra logic, so it's not like you can't like.
It's not a circle. That's hardly a circle.
A track. He has like a racetrack.
It's a racetrack.
There you go. He has a racetrack.
Let's say what it is, Bill.
There's like a little bit of extra logic so that if you like run ahead on the track, he'll try and run the other direction, and if you run on the other side, he'll run the opposite direction. So he'll kind of use this track to like run around you. And the reason he uses a track is because he's like a trap-based boss.
Right.
So he keeps trying to like drop traps around the arena and avoid you the whole time.
Trick you.
Yeah, to trick you into like running into them or to kind of like trap you. And then all these little pips here, all these little like. Get in there.
Triangles.
Oh, and by the way, this grid thing, that's Apex when that shows up.
So that's the grid of
that's the actual Apex grid. If I fly the camera just right, it won't get in the way really.
So you said.
Should probably disable it, but
whatever.
So these little guys, each one of these is a spawn point for like all the different minions, all the different bosses might have.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And these are unique minions, and that's why they're different, or it's the same minion spawn point. You're just duplicating
it depends.
So they can spawn around.
Some of them are different minions. Some of them are the same minion. All these, this ring of minions is kind of for Neziah, the boss I was just showing. That's where all of his minions would show up, and Neziah himself would show up like in the center here. I think some of these might be Ginnabath's minions that run in. Not sure what these guys are at here. They're probably another boss. That might be Barackle or Searath or Showback. I think it's Searath. Anyway, so yeah, this is kind of like a giant collection of different things the bosses have. Yeah.
Boss fight.
So let's see if I actually go into one of these.
That has a lot of objects.
Yeah. I'm looking for Ginnabath's landslide. I can actually show you the effects if I can find.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? It might spawn the effects. Oh, they're not actually on the thing. Maybe I can do these though.
Boop. This is why file structures are very important.
Why is it doing this? That is weird.
broke.
Oh,
TV.
you know what? I bet it's got. I forget what the option is. There's an option that is on one of these things. Well, forget it for now. I won't worry about it. There's an option with one of these third-party things we had that was supposed to help sort things that prevents you from selecting children in objects.
Oh.
It's kind of annoying, actually, because it defaults to on, or defaults to true.
Why would it prevent you from selecting children so you don't accidentally move stuff?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
probably a good idea, though.
If you want it on, I think most of the time you don't. But if you know what you're doing, it's not.
No, I don't. So I need all the babies.
Anyway,
on.
I'm not going to worry about that right now. All right. Any other questions?
Of course.
Always.
So, when you kill a boss, what sequence of events does that set up? So does that switch to scripting to say, okay, upon boss dying...
Is the cam up? Can I switch to the cam?
Yeah, you can switch that.
Yeah, sure.
So upon boss dying, was that then switched to scripting to say, hey, boss is not alive, returns true. Okay, boss not alive, return true, therefore trigger a cutscene or trigger the end of the level?
Yeah, there's a...
Or is it different than an enemy? Like, how does that work?
So when most bosses die, they have like a signal they send. And the signal kind of sets off a chain of events based on what the level designer usually set up.
Right.
The level designers will have like we call it node graph. And
Yes.
it's kind of like our I think someone's called
Yeah,
covered
Dan has talked about it.
Dan's talked about node graph before. So node graph is kind of like what the level designers use to like listen for events, trigger new events, see what kind of things should happen as the level plays out. And for boss encounters, there's usually like a node graph that says start boss encounter, and then all my stuff takes over, all the stuff I did. And then there's another one that sits there at the end that says, all right, is the boss dead? Here's everything else that needs to happen. There's some other systems, though, obviously, that happen too. Like loot is based on like the loot system.
Right.
Experience, all that other stuff, all the stuff you gain for beating a boss. That's actually on the boss entity, what they can drop. Every boss in our game drops like their own unique special weapon that they use during the fight, and that's part of like on the boss entity, like what they should drop and stuff. But anyway, going back to the original question, yeah, there's a node graph script that sits there listening, and from there the level designer decides what's supposed to happen next after a boss dies. Whether there's a comic, a cutscene, the level exit usually gets activated after a boss is beat, all that good stuff.
Cool. Just saw several bosses from, and if you can survive the final boss rush spoiler alert that Bill has described, then you are a true hero and a champion of Gath. Bill, I'll give you the last word. What's the best or funniest note you've seen in Dark Souls so far?
Funniest note? That's a good question. I mean, there's always those notes that say like secret wall here, and then they just get you to waste your weapon.
We are Kingdom Games ATX and all your favorite social media sites. The game is 5 Guardians of David, which you just saw several bosses from, and if you can survive the final boss rush spoiler alert that Bill has described, then you are a true hero and a champion of Gath. Bill, I'll give you the last word. What's the best or funniest note you've seen in Dark Souls so far?
Funniest note? That's a good question. I mean, there's always those notes that say like secret wall here, and then they just get you to waste your weapon durability just hitting the wall. And it's like, oh, well, this doesn't do anything.
I like that.
You just keep hitting it, and it's like, oh, my weapon's going down.
No, it's not a secret.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'll go with that.
All right, secret wall here.
Yep.
All right, thank you, everybody. We'll be back next week with Brandon, I think, talking about engineering stuff.
Sweet.
Cool.
Cool.
Stuff.